Hey, it's Tpok, and I am back in Katawa Shoujo. Sorry about there not being a video yesterday. Um, Basically, I just had a huge problem at this pharmacy. The problem being, they were taking so long. And, yeah, so that took a long time, and then I had a ton of homework too, so sorry, but school stuff comes first. Anyway, this is gonna be Shizune's bad ending. And basically, this is like the only choice you have in her entire arc. So we're gonna comfort Misha. I don't remember if this was before or after she said she was in love with Shizune. I think this is before. So we're gonna see how this goes by comforting Misha. As much as I pretend to protest, I've allowed things to come to this point, even though I knew so far ahead with that of when she actually came out with it that this is what she was getting at. At the very least, I was okay with this outcome. If I needed any more proof, it's simple. I still haven't turned her away. Also, sorry if you hear a fan in the background. I have turned off all of my fans, making my room hot, and I was like trying to do that to avoid noise. And of course, my computer now has its fans going on high because it is too hot in my room, pretty much. I could have at any point, and it was wrong of me not to do it sooner, but now, not doing so is something beyond simple carelessness. Misha takes my silence as agreement and squeezes herself against me tightly, as if she's trying to get into my clothes. My arms are enveloped by the softness of her skin and the warmth of her body. I roll over on reflex and end up on top of her. She looks at me as if expecting me to take the lead, and closes her eyes nervously the second I return her gaze. I guess I have no choice, and I clumsily begin to undress her, something I've never done before. I have to censor. After all, I've only had sex once before, and I was restrained to a chair. That is not a line you hear often. This time, I'm in control like I'd wished then, but it's really kind of scary, now that I am. I start by unbuttoning her blouse and slipping it off her shoulders. Her figure is curvier than I expected and complements her cute face. Her bra unhooks in the back, and I have trouble getting it off, partly because Misha seems ashamed of her breasts, and half-heartedly tries to cover them before I've even undone it. When I unlatch her skirt and start pulling down her panties, she offers more moments of weak fake resistance. It's just a formality. I realize now that formalities are very important to Misha. It's why she always greets everyone so happily, even when she probably isn't happy to see them. Her eyes are open now, and I run my hand up the inside of her thigh, almost laughing when she shudders and nearly crushes it when she tightens her legs. That was the email. I'm sorry. A genuine reaction and a cute one. Shizune was better at hiding her inexperience, even though she was just as embarrassed. Are you ready? She nods without looking at me. As I push myself into her, I can feel her become rigid with nervousness, which I start to feel as well when I meet a resistance inside her. I feel so tense that every time I move it feels painfully mechanical. I wonder if I should go more quickly like Shizune did, but Shizune is pretty forward. It's a different situation now, one I regret getting myself into. I start pushing in slowly and Misha winces in pain. Please do it quickly. Ow. I stop. No, it's okay. And then I push myself even deeper into her, to the hilt, feeling Misha's hand clasp my arms, then reach higher, as if she's trying to climb them. Grabbing at my shoulders, she pulls herself against me, joining us more tightly together, and I can't do anything but push back. Hearing her moans, I speed up and find a rhythm. Her hands grip each other around my back, and I feel her elbows digging into the space under my ribs as I piston into her. The blood pounds in my ears like the beating of a drum, until I can barely hear her. This is my first time with the man, it's weird. I wish she would stop talking. Her voice is so quiet and breathy that I have trouble understanding her. But the tone of sadness permeating it is unmistakable, and only makes me feel guiltier. I'm supposed to be comforting her, but it's entirely physical, and if Misha is being reassured in any way by this, she isn't showing it. That makes me question whether my decision was the right one. I'm really starting to doubt it. Despite that, her soft cooing in my ear makes me keep going, as does the hot, slick tightness around my member. Eventually, her leg twists around mine. She tenses up in orgasm, her smooth neck rubbing across my cheek. It takes her a minute to separate herself from me. It gives me an opportunity to see her body fully, her pink skin blushing bright red and dapped with sweat. I feel cold. Hee-chan? I can't hear anything but the ticking of the clock and the sound of my own breathing. Never mind, Hee-chan. I search around for Misha's hand with my own and caress it. How light and delicate it seems, even as it grabs me so tightly around my wrist. The feeling is familiar. Just a second. This guy next door is talking super loudly. It's like coming through the walls. I really hope I'm not that loud. He could just be talking normally. Well, if my voice is carrying through the walls, people are hearing an awkward sex scene playing out. Okay. So that happened. Sadly. Yeah, I'm gonna apologize for all the noise happening around me. My new room is not soundproof at all, but I'm planning on buying some foam for sound insulation. I mean, it's pretty bad how thin the walls are. The following morning, I wake up thinking that most of my time is going to be spent trying to avoid Shizune and Misha. What happened last night, it still makes me feel uneasy. I thought that sleeping on it would help alleviate that feeling. I feel like an idiot for believing it would be that easy. I think about whether or not Misha might feel the same way. If so, she probably won't show up to school today. I'd consider doing the same, but it would be pretty suspicious. And staying inside all day in fear doesn't appeal to me. It never really has. Like I thought, Misha isn't in class this morning. Shizune is, but today is a busier day than most, so she gives all her concentrating on her classwork. And that means there's a little idle time for her to start up a conversation with me. It's strange that I should be running from the thought of having to talk to Shizune after spending so much time trying to do just that. But I can't think of any other way I should feel. I had sex with her best friend. If I feel this way about it, I wonder how Misha must feel. Just as regretful? When she came on to me, she was more depressed than sexy to start with. I can only imagine how much worse it would be now. Thinking about it like that, I want to see her again, but only half-heartedly. The other half of me is still terrified, even though I hate to use that word. It makes me feel ashamed, but I'm sure it's the only way to describe myself right now. It's not a good feeling. I'll spend the next couple periods in the library, not in the mood to sit in classes for the rest of the day, but unwilling to walk back to the dorms. While I'm lazily flipping through pages of an uninteresting historical fiction novel, Shizune drops herself into the chair across from me, pouting. I think it's sort of pointless to come to school and then skip every class. Sorry. At least tell everyone that you're sick. I'm just not feeling it today. Yesterday I was fine though. Tomorrow I'll probably be fine. Taking a sick day in the middle of the week is just too suspicious. That 24-hour flu thing or whatever won't fly. It's not suspicious. It is. Really, it's not really that suspicious as how you could get sick Tuesday night, be out Wednesday, come back Thursday. It's not too bad. I turn back to my book, but Shizune gently pulls it down, in contrast with her expression which straddles the line between concern and anger. Is something wrong? What? Is something bothering you? Because you're acting a little suspicious today in a different way. If there is, just tell me or I'll be bad. I'm not good at reading people. What a ridiculous thing to say after picking up my mood so easily. She's only half kidding, but there is some truth in it. After all, she can't hear tone and has to rely on reading to communicate with others. It's as if you could only ever have conversations with someone through text messages. That has to mess you up in some way. It's probably why she stares so intently at people in order to gauge their reaction. Or maybe it's why she pushes people so hard to get them to react. I've thought about it before, but it's too hard to say for sure what Shizune's exact motivations are for anything. So I wonder how much of that was a joke. Sometimes it's easy to tell. This time it isn't. Assuming it wasn't a joke, I can't tell her anyway. Because it's sign language, there is enough time to collect myself and lie effectively. Nothing. I've just been thinking a lot about the student council's future lately. I believe Misha's doing the same, well, in her own way. So am I, but she isn't here today. I wish she would have let me know something, because I might need her help later today. Yours too, unless you're busy. I'm not? Thank you. I feel like I'm losing a lot of people close to me lately. I can't think of a good way to respond to that. Something reassuring and confident, telling her not to worry. I'm here for you, I'm not one of those people. Then who is? And it seems so forced. I manage a wave with my hand that seems extremely callous as soon as I do it. You shouldn't feel that way. I might just be a little sick. Not enough to go through the trouble of making it official. It's just easier for me this way. It's the wrong way. I've heard the hard way and the right way are usually the same thing, so it's not a big stretch to say the opposite is true. Well, fine. If you say that you're all right, that's good enough for me. Wait. You asked me, so I'm turning it around. Is everything okay with you? Yes. She signs with it without a moment's hesitation. After that, Shizune waits to see if I'm going to follow up on it. I don't, and she leaves. I feel like an idiot for not going further, even though I think it's better that I didn't. I've been in the library for quite a while and decide to go up to the roof for a change of pace. A fresh breeze hits me as soon as I open the door. This is really my favorite area of the school, I think. Then I see that I'm not the only one here. I can see a girl with bubblegum pink hair in front of me. Her back is to me, but I don't have to see her face to know who it is. I'm sure Misha is the only person in the world with hair like that. I get the feeling that I've stumbled on her at a bad moment. She obviously wants to be alone, and I wonder if she hasn't noticed my presence, so I'll leave right now. But she has, and turns to face me. Oh, Hee-chan, I thought someone was behind me, but I didn't think it was going to be you. This time you surprised me. If she's referring to her habit of sneaking up behind me and asking me to guess who it is, I've never been surprised by that. I'm surprised too. But this is good. I had something I wanted to talk to you about anyway. Not that. What's going on between you and Shizune? She won't tell me, so I'm asking you. Because you're easier to get an answer out of, since the same sign language that gives me the leeway to lie gives her a cushion against my questions, so that she can more easily brush them off. When she hesitates, I push her harder. Give me an honest answer, please. It's complicated, Hee-chan. It's because of something that happened a long time ago. I thought I could just forget about it, but it's really hard. So, that and graduation coming up made me want to spend more time with Hee-chan. But Hee-chan is always busy now, so we've been fighting. But I'm tired of it now. Because I like Shi-chan. So do I. No, I know you like her, Hi-chan. I mean that I like Shi-chan in the same way. I want her to be my girlfriend. Misha closes her eyes, like a condemned criminal confessing the last of their sins in front of the executioner. It only makes it harder for me to think of a response, and I know I have to give one. I see. I never knew. I didn't really want to come to this school, Hi-chan, but it sounded interesting, and even if everyone hated me, at least it felt like they would leave me alone. I was learning sign language, but I wasn't very good at it. Shi-chan was trying to get people to join the student council because it was only her and Lily. Then she came up to me. I couldn't understand her at all. But Shi-chan wouldn't use her pen and paper. She knew that I was taking sign language classes. I was exposed quickly. I didn't know any. That only made her try harder, and I hated Shi-chan and thought she was making fun of me. That wasn't the reason, though. So, slowly, I fell in love with Shi-chan, and I told her that I loved her. The guy next door is playing music that I recognize. That is a loud movie. Can you guys hear that? I'm sorry. Also, I think I can skip. So... Jeez, that is loud. Yeah. After all, I've even done something really terrible now. Unforgivably terrible. Misha presses herself harder against the fence at her back, as if hoping to slip right through it. Don't be stupid. I'm surprised by the tone of my voice. Sorry. I realized I hate it when I'm left feeling regretful over anything. Even so, it's impossible for me not to end up regretting something. Yesterday I did a stupid thing. That's probably part of the reason why I'm here right now, so I could figure out if I could maybe make it right somehow. Do you ever feel that way? You said you'd done some terrible things. You can try fixing them. Hi-chan, isn't that... I know that she's thinking that I'm saying this for me more than for her. No, it's not. I just think that killing yourself is the biggest regret a person could end up with. Hi-chan, you're so dramatic. Whether she was serious, I'll never know. But don't try to find out, as she lets out a sigh and closes her eyes as if going to sleep. I feel that the dangerous mood I was picking up from her has passed. The door behind us opens, the sound only barely able to be heard over the ambient breeze. I've been looking everywhere for you two. Is this some secret meeting? She walks over to us, leaning against the fence next to Misha as if she needs to stop and catch her breath before pushing herself off it and continuing. I'm bored sitting in the student council room every day now without either of you ever coming by. Taking some time off is fine, but this is just too much. Normally, Misha and I would be jokingly making excuses for ourselves at this point. This time, there's only silence. Shizune, always expecting resistance, is thrown off balance by the lack of it. A few seconds pass in uneasy silence, which Shizune breaks with an ear-shattering snap of her fingers, smiling as if to say, Eureka. Let's go do something together. Like what? Anything. We should go to the student council room first, then figure it out from there. That seems like a trick to get us to do work instead. Very funny. It's not a trick, I promise. It will be something fun. Misha contrasts the genial smile on Shizune's face with a lonely expression of her own. If Misha's really jealous of me for stealing Shizune away from her, then it'll only make it worse if all three of us were together. I imagine it'd be like rubbing salt in an open wound, so I get the idea to let them spend time together. I'm not so idealistic that I think a single afternoon to themselves will solve everything, but it might help. It seems like the better option than going with them, because my presence definitely wouldn't help at all. You two can go have fun then. I'm going to go to bed early. Are you sure? It's barely past lunch. I told you, I don't feel good today. I think I'm coming down with something. I thought you said excuses like that won't work. She asked me there. It's okay, but refusing someone's invitation is rude. I'll expect you to make it up to me. Shizune turns around and smiles at Misha and starts signing something that I can't see. I assume it's along the lines of, it looks like it's just going to be the two of us. That's good. And so begins Act 4, I believe. To my other self. So apparently there are very few scenes in present tense. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what present tense means, but hasn't it always been present tense? Only a day later, the weekend has already arrived. I dropped a heavy stack of books on the librarian's desk, not meaning to slam them, but they weigh so much it happens anyway. Sorry, Yuko. Stuff's happening. Oh, I was scared she was coming to my room. Hey, it's her brother. Hideaki. I still don't really know how to pronounce his name. Yeah, I remember now that it was kind of funny how, towards the end of the arc, I mostly spent a ton of time with Misha, rather than Shizune. The next day, Misha is back in class, although still looking pretty sullen. Not that I was expecting her to magically feel better. That would be asking the impossible, considering what happened. This time it's Shizune who's out. At first, it almost makes me laugh that suddenly whenever one is out, one is in class, the other isn't. But thinking about it, there's nothing funny at all about it. In fact, I find it hard to concentrate on my work because of it. It could be that she's just sick. Or she could simply be skipping class. It could also be something more serious, and I'm tempted to ask Misha if she knows, but I end up doing nothing. I don't regret stepping in yesterday, scared that Misha would do something rash. But now I feel like I should give her some space. Eventually the bell rings. Misha gets up for lunch along with everyone else. I decide to eat lunch in an empty classroom today, just not this one. Unfortunately, a lot of other students seem to have the same idea, so there aren't a whole lot of empty classrooms to go around. Finally, as I'm about to give up on the idea, I find a dark one at the end of the hall. On turning the lights on, however, I find out that this one isn't empty either. Lily's head turns in my direction, which freaks me out before I realize she probably heard me flipping the light switch. Hello. Hey, Lily. I didn't think anyone else would be here. Is that you, Hisao? Yeah, but you probably knew that already. I turn to leave, which prompts Lily to quickly speak up. You don't have to leave so quickly. We can both have lunch in the same room. As a matter of fact, I would prefer to eat with someone else. I want to ask her how she knew I was here to eat lunch, but brush it aside. It's just simple common sense, and I don't want to seem too easily impressed. I take a seat at the desk in front of Lily, reversing it to face hers. I've heard that our minds fill in a lot of what we see based on how we remember seeing it once before, or our expectations. Mostly for efficiency, so as not to have to process everything you look at individually. Lily never seems to stop to question any noise, so I wonder, is it because her mind is filling in context every time, or does she not care and just sort of accept things as they fall into place? On her desk there are just a few cookies and a thermos of tea. She must be one of those light lunch types. I bite into my sandwich. Some of the ingredients spill out the back end. We haven't spoken in a long time. I'm surprised that you still remember my name. You must be very busy in the student council. It's different every week. Some weeks are pretty slow, some weeks I consider taking a sick day. Hold on, Lily, I need a second to catch my breath from inhaling that sandwich. And how has it been lately? Unpredictable. Snap my fingers, which, from her facial expression, upsets her a lot. I think you have been hanging out around those two too much. I guess it is one of Shizune's trademarks. Personally, I like it. I ignore it. Her tone doesn't change even slightly, but Lily's mood has obviously dipped. Doesn't seem like it would be easy to. I've been trying to figure out how she can make it so loud, but I think I'm damaging my knuckles. Even if it were loud enough to break windows, I would ignore it. I'm not a trained SEAL. I have that luxury. Are you still mad about that? I asked the question as carefully and diplomatically as possible, although in the end I'm only asking to satisfy my curiosity. No, of course not, although I don't like Shizune. We were in the student council together for a brief time. I heard. I wish you hadn't been so quick to join. I don't like the way Shizune runs the student council. Did you know that she scared off most of the old members? That's why I think she tries to surround herself with people who won't oppose her. And they don't. It's like a dependency bubble. I'm sure that Shizune is aware of what Lily is saying. After all, I can remember her specifically denying it a couple times, which I'd always thought was strange. Okay. They say that the more specific a denial is, the more likely it is that the allegations are true. In this case, I think I'd disagree. Shizune is the one... Oops. Is the one subject on which her opinion could be called less than objective. Did you tell her that? Very often. Lily stops to polish off the last of her tea. I'm running behind on finishing my own lunch and take advantage of the pause to eat as much as possible. All of her friends are related to the student council, like Misha. I heard things are touchy between her and Misha. Did they have a fight? Not really. Is that so? Either way, there's no point in attempting to force them to make up. Always try to confront everything head-on is what Shizune would do, but it doesn't work in the real world. At some point, it's just being stubborn, not bravery or good intentions. That's a little general, don't you think? I suppose. What do you do? What do you think is the best to have with tea? Cookies or scones? I like them both in different ways. I couldn't possibly choose. I don't like people who constantly force me to pick sides or want to turn everything into a contest. When I joined the student council, I thought it would just mean helping everything run smoothly and helping people out, like being the class representative. Instead, every day consisted of having Shizune stomp around using Misha like a megaphone to talk about how we had to outdo the last student council and create more and more events and make them increasingly larger. But the two of you both basically want the same thing. All that stuff makes things exciting. I didn't really get it at first, but it's not some ego project. People like fireworks and soba huts and candied apples and dress-up days or whatever. The more the student council does, the more responsibility it gives us. It means extra work, but in a way, it also means more freedom. You have the pull to do things like organize a big festival, and they'll think you're capable of enough to handle it instead of just rejecting it instantly. Anyway, I want that too now. It's got its share of pointless busy work, but there are moments that make it worth it when everything comes together. It gives me something to do. If I were just to go to school day in, day out, I think I'd explode. I think Yamaku is much more easygoing than other schools. Yamaku is in other schools, though. I start slipping into another familiar mentality. In some ways, it's almost too easygoing. And if I were a different person, I'm sure I would find out how easygoing it was to be stifling, though in any other school, such easiness would just be the normal flow of life. But here, the uneventfulness would be compounded. It would feel different because I'm not a normal person after all. I'd be reminded of it every time I heard the blood beating in my temples. I'd feel patronized and weak, and my bitterness would only grow. Yeah, sure. The point is, I think I understand what it's all about now. You're really giving Shizune too much of a hard time. That might be true, but when it comes to how she treats individual people, she doesn't do very well. Unfortunately, that one's a little harder to argue. Do you have the time? I'd like to go to class 10 minutes before the bell. Then you're right on time if you go now. Excusing herself, Lily leaves, and I sit listening to the click of her cane on the floor, fading into the mumble of other students having conversations in the other classrooms and in the hall. I feel exhausted and completely forget that I wanted to talk to Shizune today. Well, good job on that. After classes the next day, I instantly head towards the student council room and talk to Shizune. Even though she's in class, trying to cut her off and have a conversation with her near the doorway or out the hall could be a little obstructive. Better to try and meet up with her at the student council room. I take my time heading there and getting a juice from the vending machine on the way. I also go over what I want to say to her in my head. It's nothing too important, only a few questions I have about upcoming events. The door is unlocked when I get there. I'd think the room was empty too, but if I couldn't see Shizune's bag perched on her desk, with the top of her head peeking from behind it, it looks as though she built herself a little fort. Shizune gives it away from behind her back before picking it up with a finger and moving it out of the way. But after that, she immediately goes back to tapping her pen against the desk, staring into a checklist as if it held the meaning of life inside it. What do you need? I wanted to see if there was anything I could help with, like all that over there. What are those? I point to the medium-sized stack of folders beside her, but she moves her hand dismissively. I can handle it myself. Then what about the elections? Also, where's Misha? It's going okay, and I told Misha that I was going to handle everything myself. Why? Shizune spins a pen in her hand slowly, working between each of her fingers like a needle through a patch of cloth. No reason. Really? No reason. She signs it again for emphasis to shut down the notion that there's anything more behind it. But there is, since she's definitely not acting normally. What's with the silent treatment? It's the phrase that immediately springs to mind, even though it's hardly the time for humor. It does describe how I feel. We can't communicate normally, so I appreciate the few ways we can. To be shut out like this hurts. It's obvious that, whatever her reasons, it's going to be pretty much impossible to talk to Shizune today. Beyond just being stubborn, she seems depressed. But with the way our conversation's going already, I don't see myself being able to find out what she's depressed about. Somehow, that only makes me want to find out more. And that means I have to ask Misha. The problem is I don't really know where Misha goes in her spare time. The roof. After asking way more people than I should have if they've noticed a girl with bright pink hair around, and getting way more negative answers than I expected, I finally found a couple who have seen her. By the time I reached the cafeteria, where Misha has apparently been this entire time, I've been around the whole school twice, and I'm very tired. I realized I've passed by her before, and just couldn't see her behind a pillar. Why are you better at finding me than I am at finding you? You were looking for me, Hichan? Who knows? I think it's just coincidence. You know, the whole point of coincidences is that they aren't consistent. Are you having a really late lunch? I didn't get to eat at lunchtime, so yeah, but not too much. I can still have dinner. Do you want to talk to me about something, Hichan? I don't waste any time. Yeah, that's the reason I'm here. Did you notice Shizune has been kind of moody today? I wanted to ask you the same thing, Hichan. Well, except she's been this way for a couple of days now. I see. Sorry, I'm moving around because both of my legs fell asleep. And it's uncomfortable. And ow. That was painful. Hey John, do you think it's because of something I did? Do you think I got upset at Hichan like last time? No, she seems angrier at me anyway. I'm not lying, I really don't. Unfortunately, my attempts to assure her of that don't seem to be going so well. In her own way, Misha's pretty stubborn too. Eventually, I just head back to my dorm. The last few days have been nothing but a continuously frustrating experience, and they left me drained. I feel tired enough that I decide to take a nap, hoping that maybe I'll figure things out in my sleep. Oh, you woke up? When I wake up, I feel more refreshed, but still without clarity. The only thing that has changed is that it's dark outside. From opening the window a little, I can tell the weather is still kind of nice. After dry swallowing my nighttime pills, I take a little walk to the vending machines. They're out of everything I normally get, so I mash my hand against the button until something pops out. The lights are off in the main building, including student council room. Just an offhand observation. As I'm thinking to myself, I hear a rustling behind me. I've seen this movie before, and that is a very ominous sound to hear alone at night. Kenji? But luckily it's just Kenji, and he wanders out of the bushes in an unusually cheery mood. Hey, what the hell? Do you just creep up on people at night and casually go hey a lot? No, that'd be weird. I knew it was you. I have extremely good night vision. Maybe it's because I'm superhuman. What are you doing here then? I could ask you the same thing. What are you doing here? I consider just telling him the truth, but quickly decide against it. It would take too long to explain. Howling at the moon. I do that too sometimes. The moon isn't out tonight though. I barely even hear him, feeling a bit resentful at the interruption. I lied to Shizune through my teeth that nothing was wrong, or to be more exact, I lied through my hands. And at the exact same time I was carrying on an entirely different conversation with Misha. That conversation understandably could upset Shizune, but there was no way that she could have heard it. Even Misha's hands, usually signing all her thoughts, were completely still. Even if they weren't, I was standing in front of her, blocking them from Shizune's view. The only way that Shizune could listen in on that conversation would be if she could read lips. Pretty much the first thing I'd ask when taking sign language was about lip reading, just out of curiosity. It's not easy, nor is it perfect, so I never considered it until now. It would make sense, and the room for misunderstandings while reading lips wouldn't help. So I realized I could use the cover of darkness to buy milk. Usually I only go out when it's raining, or I can shred myself in a seat of bikers or tourists. This is much more consistent. I'm spending too much money on milk now, though. You seem kind of mopey or out of it or something. Don't think too hard. A man has to be all about action. You can think about stuff all day, but changing the situation around by doing something is the best way. I do things all the time without thinking about it. That's why in middle school that caused me causes many problems. I thought it was cool. Sounds like an Indian name. Not really in the mood. Having a bad day? Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of distracted right now. So distracted that it doesn't hit me until he leaves that this was actually kind of sound advice. I think Shizune would have given me the same suggestion. By then it's too late to thank him politely. I already responded in the rudest tone possible. I just feel like an ass. In retrospect, these past few days I've regretted every action I've taken. The worst part is that I haven't taken the time to stew over them, and in doing so learn from them. This only has led to, more regrets. This is not a few scenes. This walkthrough has kinda lied to me. The next morning, as I'm getting dressed, I hear a knock at my door. Quickly putting on the rest of my clothes, I open it, without really stopping to think about who could be behind it. Turns out to be Shizune. Misha told me that you were looking for me. I'm a bit hurt that I don't even get a good morning, but it's not too big a deal. I was. But you found me yesterday. Shizune's fingers trace a crack in the wall. It seems like she's trying her best to look distant. Well, I didn't make it easy, did I? It's alright. That's why I'm here. We can talk today, although I kind of want to go somewhere else. What about class? It's fine, it's fine. How about we take a walk around the school? Everyone except the main building is going to be deserted. First period bell should be ringing right now. I take a quick glance at my watch and see that she's right. Okay. Is something wrong? Why do you think that there is something wrong? Because you're obviously upset, I could just tell. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Shizune quickly cracks her knuckles while I sign to her. Apparently I'm easier to read than I thought. I was trying hard to hide it. Can you tell what I'm thinking right now? I don't respond as Shizune heads towards the door slowly enough that I can tell she wants me to follow her. Her hands are folded behind her back, which is arched against them, as though she's about to bend over backwards at any second. Outside, as Shizune is right, the school is completely deserted. Although it's not my first time seeing the school like this, it is kind of eerie. Shizune acts almost as though I'm not there, browsing a vending machine and taking a slow winding path until we end up behind the main building. Finally, she leans against the wall and faces me. But it's like I've forgotten how to start a conversation. There's a saying, you don't know how much you screwed up until you screw up. Who says that? I guess it's me. Reconsidering her train of thought, she waves her hand in frustration. Okay, I'll put it differently. When I was younger, we had to make posters for Earth Day in school. There was another girl in my class whom everyone considered the best artist. It wasn't because she could draw better than everyone else, it was how much she could fit into a single picture. I wanted to be better than her, so I made countless posters until I ended up with the best possible one. I had to be the best, and I had the greatest one. In the end, everyone liked my poster the most of all, even the teacher. A week later, it was meaningless. I threw it in the trash. I think I've told you something like this before. Yeah. When I feel like I'm finished, I wish I could just wipe the slate clean. Whether I succeed or not, I put Misha through a lot. I even dragged you into it. And every point where I could have solved this silly situation or prevented it from happening in the first place keeps coming back to me. It's the worst feeling, especially when I feel like I've done nothing right and everything wrong, like recently. It's the worst kind of failure. I feel like a failure on every level. I wish I could wipe away everything I've done and just be alone, since all I've done is mess with Misha for 2 years and jerk you around for a year for selfish reasons. It's fine. No, it's not. You don't understand. I was just thinking about it. Everything I do feels like I have to beat... Oh, sorry. No, my mic. I have to beat someone else. Everyone else, even. Even if that is how it is, then what are my relationships with people? They almost feel the same. I can see where this is going. The point is that I've messed up so many people by being selfish, and now I'm going to be away from other people for a while. Even me. There's a pause. Yes. Followed by an even longer pause, this time for me. I see. That's the most selfish thing you could do. It's just you making another decision by yourself. For a minute, it looks like as though she's considering the best way to respond, but in the end she simply nods, which I think is the best way to respond anyway. It's very like her, to be roundabout even now, but ultimately without excuses. All my emotions simmer inside me. I see a kettle in front of me, water rolling inside it, so close that I cannot touch it and feel the heat radiating off of it. I'm glad for the distraction because I know there's no recourse or bargaining possible. You told me that everything was fine, but it wasn't true, was it? I can't believe it ever again. Alright. Not even bothering to sign it, I stand up. My hands are in my pockets, fingering my loose change. The morning air is cold against my face. As I look back at her, she seems very lonely. I'm reminded of myself. I've made that expression before. Maybe it's on my face right now. It feels like the image of such a lonely girl will stick in my mind forever. Every moment where I could have prevented this or solved the problem comes back to me. It makes me smile in a way without amusement. Shizune. Yeah. Honestly though, I did not like either of Shizune's endings. I mean, the last one, like her good ending, I mean, it was okay. Like, they're like, success. We graduated. Yay. And I was like, cool. And that was it. There was no... I mean, this is Shizune's character. She does seem like she's not connected to Hisao that strongly. And so I guess it makes sense. This ending made it even more known that that is her personality. So I think it was good for me to play this. Shows a lot more character depth. And yeah, so that was her bad ending. So tomorrow I will have Emmy's. I think she has a neutral and a bad ending. I will have those too. And then what will be on Saturday? So apparently there's a way to not get any of the girls. I don't really know what that means, but I'm gonna play that. So yeah. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.